To be perfectly honest, the problem that evening was my mother-in-law's dress. She was wearing a simple sundress, one that fit her more closely than her usual clothes, and every time she moved between the kitchen and the living room, my eyes just followed her. When she sat on the sofa, I couldn't help but notice the elegant line of her legs. This is wrong, I told myself. My head knew it, but my body had a mind of its own. I finally excused myself and went to my room, locking the door behind me. I sat down heavily in the armchair by the window, the city lights of Chicago twinkling below. I knew I had to take care of things myself. At first, I tried to picture other women. An actress from a movie I'd seen years ago, strangers I'd passed on the street. But it was no use. My mother-in-law's face, her gentle smile, the way she moved, it all kept flooding back into my mind. Asterisk no. Stop this. Asterisk I tried to force my thoughts elsewhere, to focus on anything else, but in the end, I gave in. You can't always control what comes to mind, can you? My breathing grew faster, my pulse quickening in the quiet room. And in that exact moment I heard it, a soft click, and the door swung open. But I'd locked it. I was sure I had. My mother-in-law, Carol, stepped inside, holding a freshly pressed shirt in her hands. "I ironed this for you for tomorrow," she began, and then she saw me. She saw everything. Me sitting in the chair, the position of my hands, the look on my face. It was a catastrophe, a five-alarm fire of pure humiliation. I'm so sorry," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. She quickly placed the shirt on the edge of my bed as if it were burning her fingers. We'll talk later." She turned to leave, but paused at the doorway, her back still to me. Without turning around, her voice trembling just slightly, she said, It's all right, Rob. A man has needs." But I didn't know then. I couldn't have known that this one mortifying accident would change our entire world. My name is Robert, and I'm 42 years old. To say I'm a self-made man in the construction business might sound a little dramatic, but it's the truth. I came to Chicago from a small town with nothing in my pockets, and for over 20 years, I poured my sweat and soul into building a respectable firm from the ground up. I live in a spacious penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan, a life of financial comfort I'd worked hard to achieve. But a year ago, my entire world collapsed. I lost my wife, Emily, in a car accident. She was the center of my universe. Emily was 10 years younger than me. She was only 32 when she was taken from this world. From the beginning, people had whispered about our age difference. "A decade is a lot, Rob. Are you sure about this?" I heard it more times than I could count. But for me, Emily was my first and only love. Her bright, warm spirit was a beacon of light in my rough and tumble life. When that light went out, I shattered. I threw myself into my work, burying myself in blueprints and board meetings. But the emptiness was waiting for me every time I came home. The sprawling penthouse felt like a mausoleum. The refrigerator was always empty, the living room too quiet, my side of the king-sized bed achingly cold and vast. Is this how I'm supposed to live now? That was the question that haunted me every single night as I tried to fall asleep. After the funeral, my mother-in-law, Carol, started visiting often. She was grieving, too. Emily was her only daughter, but she saw how I was floundering. Not eating, not sleeping, just drifting through the days like a ghost, and she couldn't stand by and watch. "Rob, have you eaten anything today?" I can still hear the gentle concern in her voice the first time she came over. I couldn't even form a response. I just shook my head. She walked over to the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and let out a long, sad sigh. "Oh, honey, you can't live like this. Think how worried our Emily would be, watching over you." From that day on, Carol came by 3 or 4 times a week. She'd fill the fridge with homemade meals, do my laundry, and bring a sense of order back to the chaos of my home and my heart. Sometimes, she wouldn't even say much. She'd just sit on the sofa in the living room, quietly reading a book, her presence a silent comfort. We were the only 2 people in the world who understood the exact shape of the hole Emily had left behind. Sharing that grief, even in silence, was a strange kind of solace. Carol was alone, too. My father-in-law had passed away from a heart attack 5 years prior. "The living have to keep on living, I suppose?" she said one evening over dinner, a wistful smile on her face that didn't quite reach her eyes. It was then that I felt a peculiar shift inside me. Carol and I were only 13 years apart. I called her by her first name as she'd always insisted, but the age gap was more like that of an older sister than a mother. She'd had Emily in her early 20s, and at 55, she still possessed a striking, youthful elegance. She practiced yoga and took long walks along the lakefront every morning, and it showed. She had a vitality that made it hard to believe her age. Months passed like this. Slowly, I began to heal. At first, even swallowing food felt like a chore, but I started to eat the meals Carol prepared for me. I forced myself to go to the office, to work, and to come home to a quiet dinner with her. The routine began to carve out a new space for my grief. It wasn't gone, not by a long shot, but it was no longer the suffocating weight that had pinned me down. One evening, after we'd finished eating, Carol was at the sink washing dishes, and I really saw her, in a different light for the first time. She usually wore comfortable slacks and sweaters when she came over, but that day she had on a simple skirt that ended just above her knees. As she stood at the sink, humming softly to herself, my gaze lingered. No. Don't do that. I quickly looked away, but I could feel my heart beating a little too fast, a strange rhythm I hadn't felt in a very long time. After that night, a subtle tension began to build whenever she was around. A few more weeks went by, and then I noticed her visits becoming less frequent. The 3 or 4 times a week became once a week, then once every 2 weeks. "Carol hasn't been by lately," I mumbled to myself one evening, staring into the barren refrigerator. I missed the containers of pot roast and chicken soup. I missed our quiet conversations over dinner. Most of all, I just missed her. I pick up my phone to call her, then hesitate and put it back down. She has her own life, Rob. She can't spend all her time looking after you. But a corner of my heart felt hollowed out again. Every time I came home from work, I'd feel a flicker of hope that I might see her car in the garage, but the apartment was always dark and silent. A month went by. Then, one Saturday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Carol. There was an issue with her apartment building. It was being sold for a major redevelopment. "They've given us a buyout," she explained with a sigh. "But it's going to take me a while to find a new place. I'm not sure where to go in the meantime." Without a second of hesitation, I offered. "Carol, please, come stay with me. I have so much space here, it's ridiculous. It would be better than you staying in a hotel and—" I paused, then admitted the truth. "Honestly, I've been so lonely here by myself. My penthouse had 4 bedrooms, and with just me rattling around in it, the place felt cavernous. Having her here, I thought, might help fill some of the emptiness Emily had left behind." Carol was quiet for a long moment. "Are you sure, Rob? I wouldn't want to be in your way." "Not at all. In fact, I think it would make things easier for me." Finally, she agreed. She chose the guest room at the far end of the hall, and we decided to maintain a comfortable distance. During the day, we'd do our own things, and in the evenings, we'd share a meal. For the first few days, it worked perfectly. We respected each other's routines and lived together without any awkwardness. But sharing the same space began to change things in ways I hadn't anticipated. Carol naturally fell into the rhythm of managing the household. "If you have any laundry, just leave it out. I'm doing a load anyway," she'd say. "Oh no, that's okay. I can handle it." "Don't be silly. It's easier to do it all at once." So I let her. A few days later, I found a neatly folded stack of clean clothes outside my bedroom door, and tucked inside the stack was my underwear. A hot flush of embarrassment washed over me. My mother-in-law had washed my underwear. That night at dinner, I brought it up, my cheeks still warm. "Carol, you really don't have to do I can wash my own underwear." She just laughed, a light, easy sound. "Why? It's just laundry." We're living together, Rob. Don't worry about little things like that. After that, she just did all of it. At first, it felt strange, but I gradually got used to it. Maybe that was the problem. The fact that it became normal for her to handle my most personal items. That intimacy, however unintentional, was blurring lines I hadn't even realized were there. The bigger problem started after that. I'd wake up in the morning to the smell of coffee brewing and find Carol in the kitchen, already dressed in an apron, humming to herself as she made breakfast. Felt so natural, so right. I'd see her in the living room, curled up on the sofa reading a novel or watching an old movie. I found my eyes drawn to her, especially after her evening walks when she'd sit with a cup of chamomile tea. She dressed for comfort at home, but sometimes that meant a simple dress or a skirt that fell just above her knees. The way she'd casually cross her legs, the smooth, toned line of her calf, it would catch my eye, and I'd have to force myself to look away. This is wrong. I kept trying to rein myself in, but Carol's healthy, vibrant figure was undeniable. She was so well put together it was hard to believe she was 55. At night, sleep became more and more elusive. The part of me that had been dormant since Emily's death, my needs as a man, was slowly, quietly waking up. And, to my horror, it was waking up for her. One day, I found myself studying her face as she talked. The curve of her eyes, the shape of her lips, the way her expression softened when she smiled. She looked so much like Emily, I realized. Or rather, Emily had looked so much like her. Emily had been the younger version of Carol, and Carol was the mature, graceful version of my wife. The moment that thought crystallized in my mind, my confusion intensified. Was this just my grief for Emily, misdirected and twisted? Or was it something else? I couldn't find an answer. About a month into our living arrangement, my awareness of her became constant. When she'd bend over to straighten a rug, the hem of her skirt would ride up, and I'd catch a glimpse of her thigh. When she'd hand me a plate and her fingers brushed against mine, a jolt would run up my arm. Even at work, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Asterisk, what would Carol like for dinner tonight? I should pick up some of those strawberries she likes on the way home. Asterisk, I felt like a stranger to myself, thinking these thoughts, but I found myself looking forward to going home. The empty penthouse I used to dread was now a warm, welcoming place because she was in it. I'm home, I'd call out as I opened the door. Welcome back, she'd reply with a bright smile. Dinner's almost ready. Go wash up. That simple phrase felt like the warmest welcome in the world. Over dinner, we'd talk about our days. I landed a big contract at work today. Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations, Rob. She listened with genuine interest and shared in my successes. And as she did, I would find myself just watching her face, my heart pounding whenever our eyes met. Asterisk, what is this? What is this feeling? Asterisk, I knew, deep down, that it was more than just gratitude. One Saturday afternoon, I was home from the office, and Carol was doing yoga in the living room. She had a mat rolled out on the floor, her movements slow and graceful. She was wearing leggings and a simple tank top, an outfit that accentuated the toned lines of her body. I stood in the kitchen, pretending to make coffee, but my eyes were fixed on her. The way she bent forward, stretched her legs, raised her arms. Every movement was captivating. This was not the body of a woman in her mid-50s. The strong thighs, the slender waist, the soft curve of her shoulders. She is a truly beautiful woman, I thought. Just then, she turned her head and saw me staring. Did you need something? Oh, no. Nothing, I stammered, quickly looking down at my coffee cup. She smiled. Could you bring me a glass of water when you're done? I'm getting a little thirsty. Yes, of course. I poured a glass and brought it to her. She was sitting on the mat, and as she took the glass, the hem of her leggings rode up slightly, revealing her ankle. My heart started that frantic, uneven rhythm again. What am I doing? I retreated to my room, but the image of her stayed with me, burned into my mind. That night I couldn't sleep. Her image kept replaying in my head. Her form during yoga, the focused look on her face as she cooked, the way she sat on the sofa with her legs crossed. I buried my face in my pillow. I knew how wrong this was, but my heart was no longer listening to reason. A month and a half after she moved in, I couldn't deny it anymore. Every time she did something around the house, every time she laughed, every time I heard her voice, my insides twisted into a knot. It was especially difficult when she wore a skirt. I didn't know where to look. My focus at work was shot. I'd be staring at a financial report, and suddenly her face would pop into my head. I'd drift off during meetings. I'm going to lose it, I thought, chastising myself, but it did no good. I think Carol sensed it too. She must have noticed the way I looked at her had changed. Sometimes, when our eyes would meet, she would be the first to look away. I felt her trying to create a little more distance between us. Our dinners became less comfortable. Awkward silences stretched between us, and we both moved with a new, careful awareness of each other. Then came one Friday night. It had been a brutal day at the office, full of stress and frustration. I came home feeling wound up and on edge. After a quiet dinner, I went straight to my room. I took a long shower and lay down in bed, but sleep wouldn't come. All I could think about was Carol. I kept picturing what she'd been wearing at dinner. A simple dress that fell just above her knees. The image of her moving around the kitchen, the fabric shifting with her every step, was seared into my memory. I got out of bed and sat in the armchair. Don't do this. But my body was already responding. It was the first time I had felt this kind of visceral need since Emily was gone. I stood up and walked to the door. I heard the lock click. It's locked. Reassured, I went back to the chair. I had no other choice but to find my own release. I closed my eyes, trying to regulate my breathing, focusing on the sensation that had been absent for so long. I tried to think of something else, someone else. An actress, a random woman from my past. But it was useless. All I could see was Carol. The way she looked in her dress tonight, the way she'd cross her legs on the sofa, the warmth in her eyes when she smiled. Asterisco no. This is wrong. Asterisk, my mind screamed it, but my body was honest. The more I thought of her, the more intense the feeling became. I finally surrendered, letting her image fill my mind completely. My breathing grew ragged. And in that exact moment, knock, knock. Rob. It was Carol's voice, soft, from the other side of the door. I froze, my body rigid with shock. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Then I heard a click. The sound of the knob turning. Oh God, it didn't latch properly. I ironed that shirt for you for tomorrow. Her voice trailed off as she stepped inside, the shirt in her hand. And then she stopped dead. She saw me, my posture in the chair, my expression, and the position of my hand. Her eyes widened in shock. Oh, she whispered, a small, startled sound. I'm so sorry, I choked out, fumbling to cover myself, turning away from her. My face was on fire. Carol's face was beet red. I'm sorry. I knocked, but you didn't answer, so The shirt fell from her hand, landing in a heap on the floor. We both stared at it, frozen in a state of mutual horror. I am so sorry, I mumbled, unable to meet her gaze. She quickly bent down, picked up the shirt, and placed it on my bed. We can talk later. She hurried toward the door, but paused for a second with her hand on the knob, taking a shaky breath. Then, without looking back, her voice trembling, she said, "It's okay, Rob. A man can be like that." And then the door clicked shut, leaving me in silence. I slumped down in the chair, burying my face in my hands. The heat in my cheeks wouldn't fade. I couldn't do anything. I just sat there, drowning in shame. How am I ever going to face her in the morning? But then a strange thought surfaced. The look in her eyes, just before she left. It wasn't just shock. There was something else mixed in there, something I couldn't quite decipher. Could it be? No. I shook my head, trying to dismiss it, but my heart was pounding in my chest for an entirely different reason now. I didn't sleep a wink that night. The next morning was excruciatingly awkward. I woke up late on purpose, hoping to avoid her, but I knew I couldn't hide forever. When I finally made my way to the kitchen, Carol was there, preparing breakfast as if nothing had happened. "Morning. I made some eggs," she said, her voice even and calm. I cautiously sat down at the table. "Sleep well?" she asked.
Yes, elite.
"You?" I slept fine. We ate our breakfast in a heavy, suffocating silence. I just wanted to finish and escape to the office. "Will you be home late tonight?" she asked, breaking the quiet. "I don't know. I have a lot of work to catch up on." "Okay. Well, I'll have dinner ready for you." I just nodded and left. All day at work, I couldn't focus. The events of last night played on a loop in my head. The moment she walked in, the look on her face, the words she said. What am I even thinking about? I shook my head, trying to clear it. But a part of me, a part one, was ashamed of, wanted to see her again. I left the office promptly at 6, my heart pounding the entire drive home. I opened the front door and stepped inside. "I'm home. Welcome back." Carol was sitting on the living room sofa, not in the kitchen as she usually was. She was waiting for me. "Is dinner?" "Not yet. I was waiting for you." She looked at me, and her gaze was different. More direct, more intense. "Sit down, Rob." I sat on the armchair across from her. "About last night," she began, and I held my breath. "Carol, I am so sorry. I really—" "It's okay," she interrupted, holding up a hand. "It's not your fault. A man living alone. I get it." But now that the door was open, I felt I had to be honest. "I was thinking about you," I confessed, the words tumbling out. Her eyes widened slightly. "What?" "At first, I wasn't. I swear. I was trying to think of anything else," I said, unable to look at her. "But couldn't. It was only you. Living here together, seeing you every day. At some point, you started to get to me." My voice trembled. "I know it's wrong. You're Emily's mother. I'm your son-in-law. But what?" she asked softly. "But living so close, I couldn't suppress it. It's just a biological thing," I admitted, feeling helpless. "The way you look when you're doing things around the house, when you're sitting on the sofa, when you wear that one dress, it all registers." As a man, I couldn't help it. I buried my face in my hands. At first, I just felt guilty. So guilty to Emily and to you. But the feeling just kept getting stronger. I found myself thinking about you at work, looking forward to coming home. It isn't just loneliness, Carol. She was silent for a long time. Then, she spoke, her voice quiet. "I've thought about it too. About us living here like this. I think it was inevitable that we'd start to become aware of each other." My heart hammered against my ribs. "I know how hard it must be for a man on his own," she continued, looking me straight in the eye. "You must have been holding back all this time. And then last night, seeing you in your room like that." A faint blush colored her cheeks. "I'm sorry. I should have been more careful. Maybe I've been dressing too casually around the house." She fidgeted with the hem of her sleeve. "To be honest, what I saw, it surprised me. But afterward, I kept thinking about it. I'm human, too, Rob." I couldn't take it anymore. I reached across the space between us and took her hand. "Carol." "Rob," she whispered, her fingers lacing with mine. She gave a slow, deliberate nod. "Tonight, you don't have to hold back. I feel the same way." I thought my heart would stop. You do." "Yes." She squeezed my hand, her grip firm and certain. "Let's not think about anything else tonight. Just us." I stood up slowly, my legs unsteady. Carol rose to meet me. "Should we go to your room?" I asked, my voice hoarse. She gave another small nod. We walked to my bedroom in silence, so close I could hear the frantic beat of her heart, or maybe it was mine. "Carol," I said, stopping her just inside the door. "Yes." I looked at her face, the face that looked so much like my wife's, yet held a depth, a mature beauty that was all its own. She looked back at me, her eyes full of 1,000 unspoken emotions, and then our lips met. Loneliness, grief, longing, gratitude. Every emotion I'd felt for the past year swirled together in that one kiss. That night, we crossed a line from which there was no return. The part of me that had been asleep for over a year woke up completely. And honestly, Carol was more than I ever could have imagined. It was impossible to believe she was 55. This was nothing like the lonely release I'd sought in my room. This was the warmth of another person, the soft touch of her hands, a shared, breathless connection. My body remembered. I had forgotten how much I missed this. It seemed like it had been a long time for her, too. Perhaps that's why it felt so urgent, so desperate. We didn't let each other go until the first light of dawn was breaking over the city. The next morning, I woke with Carol sleeping peacefully beside me. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, illuminating the room in a soft glow. We really did it, I thought, but there was no regret, only a profound sense of warmth and peace. Carol's eyes fluttered open. For a long moment, we just looked at each other, the morning quiet and still around us. "Do you regret it?" she asked first, her voice soft. "No. Do you?" "No," she whispered, turning to bury her face in my chest. "I feel happy." I wrapped my arms around her, holding her close. "Me too." We were no longer mother-in-law and son-in-law. We were a man and a woman. After that day, everything changed. During the day, we maintained our usual distance, but at night, we found our way back to each other. Even my days at the office felt different. I used to dread going home, but now I couldn't wait for the workday to end, because Carol was waiting for me. As soon as the clock hit 6, I was out the door, my heart racing with anticipation on the elevator ride up to the penthouse. I'd open the door to find her in the kitchen, preparing dinner. "You're home," she'd say, a secret smile playing on her lips. "You're early today. I wanted to get back to you." She'd just beam at me. "Go get changed. Dinner will be ready in a minute." Our evenings together were transformed. The awkwardness was gone, replaced by an easy intimacy. Our hands would brush as I helped set the table. Our eyes would meet and hold across the dinner table, and we'd laugh freely. After dinner, we'd sit on the sofa with a glass of wine, and as we watched a movie, our hands would find each other. Her head would rest on my shoulder. My fingers would trace patterns in her hair. It all felt so perfectly natural. "I'm happy, Rob," she'd say. "Me too, Carol." And we'd look at each other and smile, a prelude to another kiss, another night spent together. Days turned into weeks and weeks into a month. We grew closer and closer. She became a part of my life and I became a part of hers. On weekends, we'd go grocery shopping together, take walks in the park, and even go to the movies. In public, we were family. At home, we were lovers. "Being with you like this, it feels so good," she whispered one night, nestled in my arms. "I feel alive again, for the first time in so long." "Me too," I said, stroking her hair. "If it weren't for you, I'd still be rattling around this place all alone." "It goes both ways," she murmured into my chest. "You've made me feel like a woman again." We held each other tightly and fell asleep. 2 months passed. Our connection deepened, moving beyond the physical into something truly emotional. I was falling in love with her. What started as a way to soothe our shared loneliness had blossomed into real, genuine love. "Carol," I said one evening, "let's go away for the weekend." "A trip?" "Yes, somewhere quiet, just the two of us." She hesitated for a moment. "Do you think that's a good idea?" "It's a great idea. No one will know us there." She finally agreed with a small, hopeful smile. That weekend, we flew to Charleston. I booked a quiet little cottage on the coast, with a porch that overlooked the ocean. "Oh, Rob, it's beautiful," she breathed, looking out at the endless blue water. "I'm glad you like it." I put my arm around her shoulders. We walked hand in hand along the beach, the sand warm beneath our feet. For the first time, we were completely free. No one knew our story, no one was watching. That evening, we cooked dinner together in the cottage kitchen, laughing and talking as we moved around each other. "This is delicious," I said, taking a bite of the grilled fish she'd prepared. "I'm glad," she smiled. Later that night, we sat on the porch, listening to the gentle rhythm of the waves. "Can we really be this happy?" Carol wondered aloud, her voice soft. "Yes, we can," I said, taking her hand. "We deserve to be happy." She turned to look at me, her eyes shimmering in the moonlight. "Thank you. I'm the one who should be thanking you." We kissed, then went inside. The next morning, we woke early to watch the sunrise. We sat together on the beach as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. "It's so beautiful," she whispered. "Yes," I agreed, looking not at the sunrise but at her. "It really is." I took a breath. "I love you, Carol." It was the first time I'd said it. Her eyes widened, and then they filled with tears. "I love you too, Rob." We held each other on the beach as the new day began, and in that moment, I had never felt happier. About a month after our trip to Charleston, everything came to a halt. One evening, Carol's phone rang. As she answered it, her expression tightened. "Yes, okay, when?" After she hung up, she looked at me, her face pale. "That was Susan. She's coming back to the States." "Your older daughter?" I was stunned. Susan had moved to San Francisco 20 years ago, married a tech executive, and built a life there. She hadn't even been able to make it back for Emily's funeral because of the pandemic restrictions at the time. "So suddenly?" "Yes. She said she's wrapping things up there and moving back to Chicago for good. She's worried about me being alone now that I'm getting older." Carol's voice was shaky. A cold knot of dread formed in my stomach. If Susan came back, our relationship would be exposed. "When is she coming?" "Next week. And she wants to stay with me, which means she'll be staying here." My heart dropped. If Susan was living with us, Carol would have to move out. Our time together would be over. "What are we going to do?" Carol asked, gripping my hand tightly. "We'll just have to be careful," I said, but my mind was reeling. Susan's husband was staying behind in California for another month to finalize the sale of their house. A week later, we picked Susan up from O'Hare. She was still as chic and confident as I remembered, looking much younger than her 35 years. There was a certain polish to her, a big city energy. "Rob, it's been too long," she said, giving me a brief, formal hug. "You too, Susan. Welcome back." Her eyes scanned her mother from head to toe. "Mom, you look, well, really well." "Oh, well, Carol stammered. "No, it's something different. Your skin looks great, and there's a light in your eyes." Carol tried to act casual, but I could feel the tension radiating off her. Susan's gaze was sharp, analytical. In the car on the way back to the penthouse, Susan asked, "So, Mom, where are you living now?" "Ah, well, I'm just staying with Rob for a little while," Carol explained. "You are? Why?" "My old building is being redeveloped, so it's just temporary." Susan's eyes narrowed slightly in the rearview mirror. "Well, in that case, would you mind if I stayed there, too? It would save me a fortune on a hotel." Carol and I both froze, but there was no logical reason to refuse. "Of course," Carol said, her voice strained. "That's fine." From that day on, everything was different. With Susan in the house, our freedom vanished. We couldn't be together at night. We had to hide every knowing glance, every subtle touch. I started staying late at the office, using work as an excuse, while Carol spent her evenings with her daughter. A week passed, and I hadn't had a single moment alone with Carol. Susan was always there, a constant, watchful presence. One night, after Susan had gone to her room, I tiptoed to Carol's door and knocked softly. "Carol," I whispered. "Don't, Rob." Her strained voice came from inside. "Susan might wake up." Defeated, I turned and went back to my own empty room. My heart felt like it was breaking. Living with Susan was like walking on a tightrope. Carol and I did our best to be careful, maintaining our distance during the day and sleeping in our separate rooms at night. But habits are hard to break. One morning, I was getting ready for work, struggling with my tie. "Here, let me," Carol said, stepping forward to adjust it for me. It was such a natural, automatic gesture, her hands moving with familiar grace. Her face was so close to mine. "There," she said, patting my chest with a smile. In that instant, I looked up and saw Susan watching us from the living room doorway. I flinched and stepped back. Another evening, Carol was washing dishes, and I went to the kitchen to help. As I took a plate from her, our hands touched and held for just a second too long. We looked at each other, and in that moment, the rest of the world fell away. Just as I started to pull my hand back, I heard footsteps in the hall. Susan was coming from the bathroom. I quickly took the plate and left the kitchen. Then there was the night we were watching TV. Carol dozed off on the sofa, her head starting to slump to the side. Instinctively, I reached out and gently guided her head to rest on my shoulder. It was such a familiar, comfortable position. I looked up to see Susan standing by the kitchen counter, a glass of water in her hand, her eyes fixed on us. I gently shook Carol awake. "Carol, maybe you should go to bed." "Oh, sorry," she said, sitting up abruptly. There were so many close calls. One day, I came home from a terrible day at work, my mood dark and heavy. I was quiet through dinner. "Is something wrong?" Carol asked, her eyes full of concern. "No, I'm fine." After dinner, she followed me into the living room while Susan was in the bathroom. "Are you sure you're okay?" she asked, taking my hand and squeezing it. "You can tell me." That warm, compassionate touch made me want to pull her into my arms, right then and there. But the sound of the bathroom door opening made us snatch our hands apart. Susan walked in, and her gaze was sharp as a knife. These tense, near-miss moments became our new normal. A month after Susan arrived, she called me aside one evening. "Rob, can we talk for a minute?" My heart sank. Asterisk, this is it. She knows. Asterisk. But she said something else entirely. "I found a place for us." "A place?" "Yes, an apartment for Mom and me. We're moving out next week." I was floored. "So soon?" "Well, my husband will be here in a month, and we need to get settled," she said calmly. "And Mom can't keep imposing on you forever. She needs her own home." I didn't know what to think. Had she figured it out and this was her way of ending it? Or was it really just time to move on? Couldn't be sure. That night, after Susan was in her room, Carol came to me. "Rob, did you hear?" "Yes, you're moving." She stood by the window looking out at the city lights. I think it's time," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We have to stop this now." I had known this was coming, but hearing the words still felt like a punch to the gut. "Carol, I don't know if Susan suspects anything," she said, her eyes welling up with tears. "But it doesn't matter. You're still young, Rob. You need to build a new life for yourself." "Age doesn't matter to me." "It does," she insisted, turning to face me. "Because of you, I felt alive again. I felt like a woman, and I am so grateful for that. But now, I have to let you go. For your own good." I fought back my own tears. "Carol, I'm sorry," she whispered, "and I was so happy." She took my hand and squeezed it tightly. "You have to be happy, Rob. Promise me you'll find someone good." I pulled her into my arms, holding her for what I knew would be the last time. A week later, they moved into a new, spacious apartment that Susan had arranged. I helped them with the boxes, my heart heavy with every item of Carol's that I carried out to the truck. This was really the end. While Susan was inside dealing with the movers, Carol and I had one last moment alone. "You take care of yourself," she said, her hand finding mine. "You too." "I'll be fine," she said, forcing a smile, though her eyes were glistening. "But you have to find your happiness again. Promise me." I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. "I promise." Our eyes met one last time, and we shared a silent, bittersweet smile. "Thank you," my eyes said. "Thank you too," hers replied. The truck pulled away from the curb. I stood on the sidewalk and watched until it disappeared around the corner. Susan came and stood beside me. "Rob." "Yes." "Go find someone good and be happy," she said, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. She patted my shoulder gently. After that day, I was alone again. But this time it was different. This time, I had a warm memory tucked away in my heart. The time Carol and I shared, the moments we comforted and loved each other. It wasn't a source of guilt, but a beautiful, secret chapter of my life. A few months later, at a company event, I met a woman. She was around my age, with a kind smile and a bright, warm personality. I took a chance and asked her for a coffee. It was a new beginning. Carol and I still text sometimes. "How are you?" Asterisk, "I'm doing well. Hope you're staying healthy." Asterisk. Asterisk, "I am. You be happy, Rob." Asterisk. "You too, Carol." We let each other go, but we never truly forgot. Sometimes when I think of her, I smile. I was so grateful for her, and she for me. And so our story came to a quiet close. Not with regret or shame, but with the gentle, lingering warmth of a beautiful memory.